When I saw Polyester for the first time, I was in college. I was going to USC, and we saw it at a midnight movie. I thought it was hilarious. I thought Divine gave a great performance in it.
I cannot take another heartbreak. I just cannot take it.
What I mostly remember from Polyester is the change of Divine's appearance, because I had only known Divine in this bizarre drag getup with the exaggerated eyebrows and the hair pulled back. People basically knew him from Pink Flamingos. As funny as that was, I really couldn't relate to it, but in Polyester, I could relate to mostly everything because I came from a town like where Divine was living. I thought it was really funny and hit all the right notes.
John and Divine, their job was making each other famous. They both wanted to be personalities. They were always excited about what they were doing, always enthusiastic. And they were so partnered in that they would come together and do these movies. And all of a sudden, John was starting a new film and got us to start participating in that. Polyester, we were actually trying to do something a little more breakout into a mainstream thing.
Elmer, let's try and have a pleasant family dinner. Let's try and be kind to the other members of the family.
Polyester, I loved doing Divine's house, and she loved it. She thought it was beautiful. And it was interesting, her being the victim.
John, I think, wanted to show Divine's range and also wanted to tell a different type of story. He'd already done Divine as Monster. And to play a sympathetic housewife was the complete opposite.
All the neighborhood women spit at me when I'm at the shopping mall.
And to put her in a Douglas Sirk-type movie like Polyester was a perfect opportunity.
I look into my future and all I see is a long, dark highway filled with endless toll booths and no exits.
My mom is Pat Moran, who does casting for John and has been a producer with him for years. And my dad is Chuck Yeaton. He was in Polyester. He just sort of had his regular job as a contractor in Baltimore, and he's sort of like the straight guy. I remember being on the set of Polyester as a child. They rented a house, and so the basement was kind of like a production office and hair and makeup and all those other departments. I sort of freaked out once I went downstairs and there was Divine's body form with his big boobs on it and bra. And I'd go after school and I'd kind of play in the makeup or do whatever, and every once in a while wander upstairs and watch Divine act. What was unique about Divine in these roles is that he just played a woman. He was pretty flawless in a lot of his performance with his timing. That's what a good actor does. He could really play this role seamlessly.
The hell are you doing? Saying my prayers, Elmer. Asking God to forgive you for showing dirty movies.
To me, he was family. He was very sweet and gentle and soothing and calming and all of those things.
Read my lips. I love you.
We had an actual movie star on that one. We had Tab Hunter. And that's a big deal.
It's Todd, honey.
Todd?
Todd tomorrow?
Well, actually, I started back in the late 40s and early 50s. My very first big starring film was with Linda Darnell in a film called Island of Desire. I was very popular, and so Warner Brothers put me under contract. But at this point in my career, I felt I couldn't get arrested in Hollywood and was now just doing what was available. It's called survival.
John saw the great possibilities in Tab because of the image that had been created of Tab in the 1950s as the boy next door, and he was going to spoof that.
By the time John Waters called me to do Polyester, I was out doing dinner theater, and I was in Indianapolis when I got a phone call from John Waters, and John said, my name is John Waters. I don't know if you've ever heard of me. I said, John Waters, I'm a big fan of yours. I loved Mundo Trasho, and I went on and on. And he said, I'm doing a film with Divine, and I was wondering if you'd be interested in reading the script and could do it. And then he said, oh, by the way, how would you feel about kissing a 300-pound transvestite?
Why don't you show me your bedroom, honey? Mother, may I?
Yes, you may.
An agent I had at the time said, "Oh my gosh, you shouldn't do this picture with Divine." I said, "What are you talking about? I've got nothing to lose and everything to gain. Why not? And I love John's work."
When Tab Hunter said yes, I remember that phone call when John said, "You are going to die. Tab Hunter is going to be in the movie."
Francine!
I don't know why he picked me, but I'm glad he did because it was a fabulous experience. I'd flown in and met Divine the first night. He was on his best behavior.
I'm sorry, I'm so nervous.
He was really cute. He was really terrific. And he was genuinely excited to be working with me. I don't know why. And I was very excited to be working with him because I respected him.
It was a highlight, I think, for her working on that particular show. She was just like a kid in a candy store.
There was a great chemistry between the two of them. Divine brought out a great side of Tab that I had really never seen on the screen before.
The Divine I had heard about in nightclubs was kind of like sparks coming out of his ass, da-da, all over the place. But that was not the Divine I knew. Behind the scenes, Divine was, I found, would be quiet. He was very serious. So when he got that Francine Fishpaw look, he was Francine Fishpaw. Well, I played some schmuck.
I got a date with an angel.
He was just kind of in your face and very showy, and I thought, he needs a wristwatch with diamonds all over it. This guy got to wear polyester pants that are bright red. And John just went along with it and just bought it 100%, and he'd add to it. It was just fun to be a part of a very active group that really was out to give 100%. The Guild got on my case for doing the film. They said to me, "What about meal penalties? What about this? What about overtime working?" I lied through my teeth. And I said, "Oh, no, we break for dinner hours and everything." But, actuality, we ate cold pizza 1 o'clock in the morning. I tried to catch a little shut-eye maybe on an old broken-down chair in a corner of the living room. But they were so energetic and so enthusiastic, and we were all out for one purpose, to do the best we possibly could and do a good film, and that's what it was about.
Yes, sirree. Oral contraceptives. They'll suppress my ovulations through hormones.
I play Sandra Sullivan. I play Francine's husband's girlfriend, slutty girlfriend, with cornrows. Yes, it was actually the first, I think probably the only time that Divine and I were ever in a movie together where I got to be prettier.
They're the finest of polyester, and I didn't pay for them.
My hair has not recovered to this day from those cornrows.
At first, I thought he was walking a dog. Then I realized it was his day.
Edith Massey was just a great character. The most amazing kind of odd, wonderful, sweet gal.
This house is just like Architectural Digest.
Divine was more frustrated with Edith because she didn't know her lines or she couldn't say things properly. Divine was a true professional and could do this stuff, whereas Edith had trouble saying poor.
Per Francine. Per Francine.
John would "I'm going to kill your cats if you don't say poor," but she couldn't say it.
I simply cannot stand another day undecided about my debutante gown.
Edith Macy, I remember when he was working with her, how good he was with her and how patient. He joked about it. I mean, she was on her 28th take for something, and he'd go, "Oh, God." But you could tell he loved her and wanted to work with her and just found a way to get what he wanted.
Lulu, dinner's ready.
I'll be down in a minute.
He had been looking for the right Lulu for a while. I mean, New York, LA, and everything. I had been pursuing acting. I had the degree in theater and studied in England and the whole bit, and I really didn't know anything about John Waters.
Where did you get that outfit?
I borrowed it. Do you like it?
John had said, "Have you seen any of my films?" I said, "Not really, I'm sorry." And he goes, "Perfect." He said, "Can you do a screen test tomorrow night?" And I said, "Sure." Next thing you know, the screen test is going up to New York Monday or Tuesday. He says, "We want you to be Lulu." And I was like, wow, that was fast.
Lulu!
And I was in a job that I really wasn't, it was just a receptionist job, and I was not really happy there. So I said, "Would you mind if I take a leave of absence?" Just, "No, I'm just really, I'm sorry." And I said, okay, I quit.
I changed the grading system. F is for fantastic.
It was such a tight group that was a little intimidating. I just did my job, and that's all I cared about, and eventually got to know everybody from just doing that. It just went so naturally, you know? It was just a good fit.
I'll never allow you to marry him.
Marry him? Are you kidding? I'm getting an abortion and I can't wait.
Have you forgotten today's the day for my abortion?
Have you forgotten today's the day for my abortion?
Divine was my mother, and I was the bratty teenage daughter.
I quit school today, and I'm gonna get me a job as a go-go girl down at the Flaming Cave Lounge.
I didn't like her. She was fat, and she drank, and the whole house was just, you know, dysfunctional.
Let's all learn these are gifts which we are about to receive.
There was a little friction between us, which really helped in the whole, you know, bratty teenage daughter that hated her mother, so it was easy. Divine actually rode out to the set with me almost every day. He would just get in and, you know, put his head up against the window and sleep the whole way out.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is Odorama.
The whole Odorama thing was just a real exciting part of that movie.
The gag in the movie was that Divine, as Francine Fishpaw, had a very overdeveloped sense of smell. When something would happen, there would be the smell, and then the audience could participate in it by scratching.
And then you'd have these cards, these Odorama cards. I mean, that's unbelievable. I really just sat there with my mouth open, oh my God, I think somebody can make a picture like this.
The premiere was at the Charles Theater, and we got driven in limos, and it was a lot of fun. I remember sitting in the theater, the Charles Theater. There was so much excitement because everybody in Baltimore was waiting for John Waters' movie. They loved everything.
Please leave us alone. My family hasn't done anything to you.
When I look back, I just think it was a great experience. You kind of have this feeling of you did something and you know, it's part of your past, but it's always with you, you know? It's a neat thing.
The pairing of Tab Hunter and Divine in Polyester was a tremendous hit. Polyester was the thing that revitalized Tab's career. Because of Polyester, he was offered a lot of other films like Grease 2 and Lust in the Dust came about.
Having worked with Divine, I knew that Divine was perfect for Lust of the Dust. It was about this Clint Eastwood type character and these two women of the West. People appreciated the fact that he was able to put this persona out there in a time when a lot of people would go, oh no, you can't do this or you can't do that. I admire that in people. I think that's very important. He was just dedicated, delightfully humorous person to be around and work with. And one of my favorite leading ladies.